And welcome to a special grudge match between Stony Brook and UT Austin here at Electronic Gaming Federation. My name is Alex Shinkari Erdenberger. I'm here joined today by Connor Con OP Updike. Connor,
Hello,
would you say?
everyone.
Yeah. So we're very excited for this match today. Both Stony Brook and UT Austin were both undefeated in their respective tournaments over the past couple of months. Stony Brook is undefeated in the rival series, and UT Austin was undefeated in their in the Lone Star series. So we have a little bit of a grudge match going on here. What's going on is we have a best of 11, last hero standing. This is game one, and I'm looking forward to some great Hearthstone today.
Yeah, it definitely should be interesting when you have normally when you have best of five, you get one ban. You see a lot of the meta decks start to come to the forefront, and maybe those are some cool interactions. But as soon as it comes to best of 11, especially last hero standing, where random wins can suddenly put out someone's best deck, and it brings a lot more variety to the table. So we should be seeing some interesting Hearthstone today.
Yeah, I agree. Right off the bat, we do have the Warlock deck for Moosey, and we do have the Paladin deck coming out from Guys here. Judging by the by the Murloc War Leader in his hand, it looks like it's very much a Finja, anything can happen kind of deck.
Yeah, those decks tend to be a little bit on the slow side. They haven't done as healing. They just don't have those kind of early interaction. But looking at Moosey's hand, his deck doesn't look like it's going to be on the aggressive side. So we'll see if the Murloc combo can prevail.
Yep. I mean, I've been seeing a lot of success from this deck from the people who play it. And, you know, you see a few people stream it, and Paladin isn't exactly the most popular class right now, as, you know, they don't really have a lot of, you know, tools in the turns 1 and 2 in order to deal with, or turns 2 and 3 in order to deal with the pirates. But when they get the proper matchup, you know, you can see a lot of success coming out from these Paladin decks. And this deck is, you know, still very, very popular for the very short amount of time that we're still going to be able to see it.
Absolutely.
Ooh.
It's also a very skill testing deck, and sometimes your skill goes your way when pulls out an extra one for you.
Hashtag skills. Hashtag skillstone.
You search that on Twitter, Barnes' face pops up, then
Yep.
Ragnaros, and a lot of other fun cards. Right now, I think Moosey's just going to be focused on trying to control the board. Something like Summoning Portal in his hand. You see a lot of combo kind of things that you could see
Yep.
something with Brand, reducing Brand to 1 mana and comboing it with 2 or 3 other cards to make Summoning Portal actually net you mana. So that could
Yep.
be something to look forward to. We don't know. I don't think we know exactly what he has planned with the Summoning Portal, but maybe we can check.
I mean, you don't really see some of these decks coming out like at Twilight Drake, Azure Drake, Summoning Portal. Like this is definitely an incredibly interesting deck. If this is a Reno deck, this has to be something that he's just kind of made up on his own and not, you know, something incredibly meta. So I'm looking forward to see what else is coming out with here. Should be interesting, to say the least.
Check the deck list. It looks like he has Malagos, Alex Strazza. So looks like he could have a lot of really powerful
Yeah.
effects in the late game. Could make something like Summoning Portal really, really powerful.
Yeah. What is it? What did you just? Well, Emperor Thor's hand. I mean, that definitely has to imply that
Malos,
there is some sort of combo somewhere. Like most decks that run Emperor Thor's hand have some sort of combo-based strategy to win them the game.
Twilight Drake should be able to contest the board, but at the immediate moment, he is losing a decent amount of life just from sometimes these Murloc decks against slower decks. If you suddenly have a curve of Bluegill into War Leader into War Leader, Barnes getting an extra War Leader essentially for free because being able to pump it up gives it that same power. You
Mm-hmm.
can lean a little bit towards the aggressive side, and putting pressure on a Warlock deck, regardless if they're Reno or not, gives you a lot of power in the early game.
Yep, definitely agree with that. Do you get quality this 410 here? What do you think?
I'm not sure if he actually cares too much about the 410. Like, he can contribute at least one or two more things to the board. If he decides to Aldor it, it really doesn't become much of a threat anymore.
Right.
Warlock has a decent number of not fantastic board clears, like Abyssal Enforcer and Hellfire and Demon Wrath are the typical small damage ones. So as soon as this War Leader goes, is now susceptible to a Coin Enforcer, which I think we're going to be seeing here.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get a better board for this to come out. Yep, here comes the coin. Here comes the Abyssal Enforcer. That big red guy is going to come down and just clear out that board. 3 damage to everything. Very, very solid.
Very good play. And now we're kind of seeing that Guys is looking more towards the late game and not the best Ivory Knight for him to see. But A Light in the Darkness is another stab in the dark of a random minion that could be good. Could be another Finja or something.
Could even be a boat.
It could be a boat.
You know how much we wanted one of those.
Not sure if they drive boats in Gadget Sam, but maybe.
Yeah, I don't think so. Humility is also a fairly interesting pick here. I mean, it is another Aldor, and like from Reno lock decks that we've seen, at least the ones that run in the meta, there are a decent number of high attack minions that could need to be humility down in order for guys to stall out the game more and more. And he is going to pick up the humility. I mean, it is fairly relevant right now, so I think the humility is probably more healing than he can get than, you know, getting a Light in the Darkness. And plus, he can immediately respond to this 160.
That's true. And considering that sometimes these Finja, any Fin decks like to run here, it's never a bad pickup.
Yeah.
Humility can be more life than Forbidden Healing, even for the lower price.
Ooh. Is that a Malagos I see?
My power of clairvoyance was correct about the Malagos, especially with things like Soulfire and Drain Life, especially that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the cards we haven't really been talking about. What's going on with the Drain Life here? That is a card I don't even see in like casual play. Like,
it is shiny, and you do get it for, I believe it's level 60 something for War, or 50 something for Warlock. So I'm not surprised that he wants to use the powers of Drain Life and Leroy to deliver massive damage to his opponent.
I mean, yeah, now we're seeing a Leroy Jenkins also come out from Moosey here, and this is just, these are so many things. Like, I would be surprised if he had like 3 different cards that all gave him some sort of like 1-turn kill ya. Like, that would be incredibly interesting. Really
I'd be
funny
excited
to see.
for that, especially with the actual matchup. That if it's now both these players are playing essentially troll decks that try to win with a combo, basically a combo finisher like Leroy, or kind of comes down to who can either find their combo, set up their combo, or sometimes control the board earlier. But now that we're entering that late game, it seems like it's going to come down to a race of who can assemble their kill you combo first. And Life Tap gives you a big edge in that, figuring out how to get the combo.
I definitely agree, and Reno does as well. I mean, Reno stalls out that game longer, and that's exactly what Moosey wants to be doing here. He clearly doesn't have every bit of the combo, or at least he wants to at least stall it out for a little bit longer, especially now that he's using Siphon Soul. He can play Emperor Thorsan, you know, as of yet, obviously, because of mana issues. But, you know, this is definitely starting to work, I'm going to say, more towards Moosey's favor. We saw like a bunch of Murlocs die in the early game for guys, but none of them were bluegills, I'm fairly certain.
I think at least one of them was a bluegill.
I think
he might have mulliganed away.
Yeah.
I think it killed a
fairly
Dark
certain
Peddler,
we saw at least 3 war leaders.
Yeah, there were 3 leaders. So in any Fin, just make like something like 20 power on the board off 3 war leaders is pretty good. So we might just be seeing that coming out, especially since the Warlock already used an Abyssal Enforcer. For that kind of large board, he doesn't have a lot of to deal with them to lower the overall health. So it would be something like Twisting Nether would be really good. Hellfire would be okay. It might be able to deal with it, but it's kind of difficult to just clear 3 war leaders on the fly.
Yeah. I mean, the other issue is that, like, if you play Anything Can Happen, okay, he's going to go for it. Oh, one did die. Okay.
That's 8 damage. That's a lot of damage coming at him.
13 damage in one turn, and there is 29 plus 5, 34 damage to follow it up. So Moosey's going to have to see something he can do here. He did pick up an Alex Strasza, but I don't think that's really going to help him out here. I don't think he has any board clears in his hand. Yeah, it's going to be really hard for him to deal with this board effectively. I think step number 1 is probably trading in that Blood Mage Thalanos for an additional draw.
He might be thinking that he needs the spell power of Soulfire
Really?
first, so yeah, that's what he looks like.
There we go.
I think able to kill 1 lore leader lowers 3, so it's essentially an 8 damage Soulfire.
He does have a lot of important cards in his hand, so this
like that one.
Ooh, yeah, like that one. That's going to cause a little bit of an issue here. Looks like he's going to trade the rest of his board into these Murloc War Leaders. There's a Power Overwhelming. That is definitely a very high priority card.
And another fun combo card. Always good.
I mean, why play one combo when you can just play all of the combos?
In fact, he was also pretty close to comboing off his opponent's creatures.
Yeah.
If it used to be the old Murloc rule, Murloc's pumping both players, so against something like a Murloc deck, you could just accidentally faceless a creature and go for it. But Reno puts him back up to 30, kind of leaves the board at parity. But another Anyfin spells doom for Moosey.
Right. We do see the Finja being picked up by guys. It is a little late. He could use it to pick up a War Leader, but I don't think he wants to play it at this point. It does kind of make a second Anything Can Happen a lot worse, because now he doesn't have the possibility of getting a Bluegill or a War Leader. He now has a possibility of getting a Finja, which doesn't immediately give him a lot of value.
I think we're going to see guys are going to be focusing on pressuring the board now and hoping to either get an Anyfin off the Ivory Knight. Unfortunately, not a possibility this game, but looking for that last copy of Anyfin will likely close the game out.
I think I totally pick up the Seath. I totally agree with the Silver Moon Portal here. It does heal him up to full, and it does also give him a little bit of extra reach, as well as a little bit of extra tempo, just in case he doesn't pick up that second Anyfin. He can still contest the board fairly well, and it gives him another minion. So lots of good cards holding on to guys' hand right now. He does still have that Ragnaros for another big drop that he can just Windmill Slam and play, just in case he doesn't get his other combo piece. But, you know, Moosey is still sitting on basically 2 different combos in his deck, in his hand right now.
I think he's debating whether or not he wants to essentially say, okay, you got it, and drop Emperor, maybe use Blast Crystal or Drain Life to try and even out the board, and hope that Emperor and using 1 tick will basically carry him the rest of the game.
Yeah, I agree. So here's the... I think he's going to go for Hellfire Emperor Thorsan here. It does look like he's going to be able to do at least a decent amount of damage off of that. And showing the Emperor Thorsan now means that guys now needs to either respond by healing himself up to full, because, you know, if it were me, and I see Emperor Thorsan plus Warlock plus Reno, he probably has some sort of Leroy combo in his hand, or at least some bits of it.
Yeah,
So
I believe we already saw he used Dark Peddler, but he off it. So he knows he already used Reno, so he likely just the 1 Power Overwhelming, which as long as he keeps above 20 life for that exact combo, and maybe incidental damage off Soulfire or something like that. With Ragnaros Slightlord, unfortunately, it could heal the Ivory Knight, but otherwise it does heal him to full.
Let's see what we got here. Oh, he's going to
the Ivory Knight.
This is going to be a little bit of an issue. I think that might be lethal. No.
No, it is. You've got Leroy 20.
Oh my God, Drain Life is going to win him the game.
And it has to be the last card played, just for...
no.
That's okay.
I mean, but if you're guys, how do you prepare for Drain Life? Like...
I think there's a little consideration of trading off Ivory Knight for ensuring that Ragnos keeps you to 30. I think staying at 30 was worth more than keeping Ivory Knight on the board, but congratulations to Moosey with
Yeah.
Drain Life Warlock. We have
Drain
to
Life
call it now
Warlock,
because we
that's
will
it.
be seeing it again. Last
Yep.
Hero Standing says that Warlock will stay and terrorize some more innocent
Right.
decks.
So that is now Paladin crossed off the list for guys here. He does still have a Mage, a Priest, a Warlock, Druid, and Warrior deck still on the list. So these are going to be definitely some interesting games. Moosey bringing out his first fairly interesting deck. Now, do you would you keep the Warlock deck, or do you move on to one of your other ones?
I think he decides to switch it up. It's probably best to not just throw the same deck that has kind of the same vulnerabilities out there and known vulnerabilities to like aggression and better combos maybe. Oh,
All right.
never mind.
Yep.
Apparently
Never
the
mind.
last hero standing says he is going to start a deck that,
Yep.
unlike Conquest, he does keep playing the deck, and so we'll be seeing Warlock hopefully continue doing some fun things, but we'll see how guys will respond to that kind of combo deck, which just makes it a little more interesting. Forcing
Yep.
someone to stay on the same deck
I agree.
means counter decks, and I think we'll be seeing a little bit more aggression coming out from guys' side.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I would really like to see a Grimy Goons deck coming out from at least one of these guys. I mean, I know the Paladin deck is not happening for guys, and his Shaman and his Shaman and Hunter was also banned away. But Moosey, come on, man, show me like one. We have access to every single. You have access to every single uh, class in the game. Make me a happy man. Make like one Grimy Goons deck. But here we are. We're gonna move on to game 2 here. Moosey does have to stay with Warlock with last hero standing, and we're moving on to the Druid deck for guys here. And don't really have anything that can really tell what the deck is. I'm going to assume that it is possibly not a Jade Druid combo because of Druid of the Claw that I see in the hand. Um, I've seen a lot of lists that are floating around, but not a lot of them are running Druid of the Claw. And even if they do, it's usually a singleton. So,
And cards like Mire Keeper and Mulch typically can indicate some of the old style Druid decks that
yep.
might focus on Yogg, might focus on Gadget Sand, something like that. So Mire Keeper and there's Gadget Sand, but Mire Keeper and Druid of the Claw are usually atypical choices for traditional Jade Druid.
And this is definitely a very, very great start for guys. I mean, he's already up to 6 mana on turn 4, so he's already accelerating pretty fast. And now Moosey is gonna have to at least use some sort of here it comes. There's the Doomsayer. So he's gonna have at least a little bit of a response here. I think guys just plays Druid of the Claw and gives it haste or charge rather, or he just goes face and doesn't play any.
I don't mind this play so much. He's valuing every little resource and potentially needing the taunt off Druid of the Claw is a lot more value. And being able to pick a few life points off, get that early aggression on. Part of the reason that Warlock, a long time ago in the past early metas, that Warlock was able to capitalize on basically both decks not doing much, is that Warlock had powerful plays going into turns like 4 through 8, while Druid was basically ramping and also trying to do powerful things. So,
Yep. And plus
but
life tap at the same time. If you're not pressuring the Warlock's life total, then he's free to just sit there and draw cards for almost the entire game. Of course, you're not playing Molten Giant anymore, but it's just an Imp Gang boss.
Imp Game Boss is still basically a 1/1 that makes a 1/1 that dies, which it's not the worst value for a 3/4 on 4. It's not obviously he's looking for it. I mean,
Yeah.
Emperor in his hand is kind of what he's looking
Yeah.
for. But
I mean, I would have argued possibly just, oops, here's a Malagos, but
also always good. Make your
capital
Mortal Coil obliterate a Druid of the Claw.
from guys makes me think that this is probably some sort of Malagos deck. You don't really see Moonfire coming out if you
Yeah, Moonfire not the best rate for
0
any
mana
kind
and
of
deal 7
value.
damage
Yeah,
is pretty great. Yeah.
yeah. Deal 7 is a fantastic rate, but 0 mana deal 1 is not the best raid, so likely going to be a Malagos deck, especially with Auctioneer and maybe wanting to conserve some of his spells for a little bit later.
Yep. I mean, he is almost at 10 mana, so that Gadget's and Auctioneer should be coming out fairly soon. I would argue that even if he picked up an Innervate, then I think he's going for that Gadget's and Auctioneer because he can play at least 2 or even 3 spells off of the Auctioneer and be able to draw like a bunch of cards and get closer to his combo finish.
Gadgetzan, very, very powerful with some of the wild growth effects as well, but that's waiting a few too many turns and needing a few too many cards that he may just need to fire off some of the spells in his hand to deal with a board. But it's not that threatening of a board. As soon as Emperor comes down, some other powerful cards come down, he may have to deal with it, but
I'm liking that Ancient of War pickup here. It's definitely very hard for Moosey to deal with without utilizing some sort of card in his hand, and he does have the Siphon Soul and Blast Crystal Potion, but that means that, you know, it's one less removal spell to be used on, you know, a Gadgetzan Auctioneer or even Malagos. So,
yeah, Moosey having both hard removal spells for the Ancient of War is going to be a powerful thing. I think we're likely to just see the Siphon Soul this turn. Emperor's good, but it's not Siphon Soul on an Ancient of War, and that's just always a good feeling. Warlock gets to do that, so
yeah, I mean, the other problem with playing Emperor Thaurissan, you do get the reduction on all of your cards in your hand, but it does leave you open to a swipe. I mean, yeah, and knowing guys' hand, like that's definitely something that Moosey doesn't want to play into because he does have a few of those, or a couple to be more specific.
now he has an Innervate, which means I think we're going to be seeing the game. You can wait a turn just to try and hit something like Wild Growth.
Yeah,
Gadget and Wild Growth is just 3 cards,
yeah,
basically 2 mana, which is best rate you're going to get. So he may just want to wait one turn on this. The board isn't threatening. Yeah, your opponent dropping something like Emperor or can't really coin anything out on 8. So, but he's not going to wait.
yep. Here we go. And the Innervate is going to give us our first draw. It is a Mire Keeper, so it's not going to be another card that he can draw. I think he's looking to use the Moonfire here. He did hover over it for a second. Don't think he wants to. Yeah, he seemed a little reluctant to play it. Feral Rage now being picked up. It could give him some armor, maybe. I don't think he's in express need to remove the 2/2.
Just go for attack, and he might just cycle off the Wrath here, but he might just use it to clear out the Dark Peddler. Yeah, that's what he says to do. 4 damage is a lot of, 4 damage is a lot of damage just putting a Warlock opponent when, after casting a Moonfire, you're making it pretty clear that, hey, I'm Malagos Druid, I'm going to burst you out of nowhere.
So now that Moosey knows the deck that he's going to play against, I think he's, yeah, okay. So this is definitely the best way in his hand to deal with this Gadgetzan Auctioneer. It does also remove a lot of cards from his hand, so he doesn't overdraw. It's also good for him as well.
Except another piece of the combo and power overwhelming. So now he's only Leroy Jenkins off of pulling off the combo, and Emperor reducing the cards is basically good enough, and reducing Summoning Portal obviously pretty good too.
Yep. The only problem is now that Guise has a decent number of dead cards in his hand. I mean, that Mulch is very okay, and if it gives Moosey something good, then it's definitely going to. Okay, Frost Elemental isn't the greatest thing, but it's still another card that is relatively hard for him to deal with. He is sitting on the Malagos now. I guess he just needs to wait for something else to help him turn on that Malagos and, you know, start going ham on Moosey's life total. Because at this point, Moosey is sitting pretty comfortable. I don't think he needs to be too worried at this point. I mean, he does have Guise does have 8 points of damage in hand and 5 on board. So it's not lethal yet.
I would almost like to see a Summoning Portal and Emperor both on the board right now, just because you can play both in this one. Basically, want both effects. You want at least one of the 2 effects. So
Right.
being able to get guaranteed cost reduction and letting Emperor live on the board to kill the Summoning Portal is a
Right.
little dangerous, and forcing guys to use a removal spell or some other cards in his hand to deal with both could be threatening, but he decides to just drop the Emperor.
Yeah. I mean, holding on to the summoning portal could be a little bit better for later, just because having the reduce. I think you get more mana off of it. I think. I'm
You
not
need to
entirely
play
sure.
essentially 2 to 3 minions. Now he only needs to play 2 to get 1
Yeah.
mana worth of value, but you need to play 2 minions. You need to play 2 minions to break even the same turn you summoning portal. So unless he's firing off summoning portal, Malagos face switch, it's a little
Yeah.
bit too many mana. Who
Yeah,
knows?
now
Maybe
we
he'll
see.
let it live.
Yeah, now we see Malagos still sitting in Guy's hand, and he doesn't really have a lot of ways to deal with it effectively on the board. I mean, we do see 2 swipes, and we do see a decent amount of damage in his hand. That 2 extra damage isn't going to provide any closer to lethal. And uh, if I were Guys, I don't think I'm playing the Malagos here, because I haven't seen a Blast Crystal Potion. I haven't seen a Siphon Soul come out from Musi. You know, a lot of the removal that he's been using has been either, you know, little things or even just cards that he's gotten off of Discovers.
Yeah, I think just having the 7 damage in his hand for Living Roots is enough to justify using at these swipes. He might just throw another swipe at face, but he does decide to just wait.
Nope.
I like the play. It gives him more options in future turns, and if your opponent's at 12 and isn't really doing a whole lot,
Right. Do see a 5 mana potion coming out here. Deal 5 damage and gain 7 armor. Those are 2 pretty relevant effects. It does make that last bit of damage a lot harder for Guys to hit. But, you know, if it were, I think this kind of communicates that Musi doesn't have a Reno in his hand, because if he really is getting more and more worried about you know, being comboed out, I think you'd play Reno Jackson over gain 7 armor.
Moonfire is getting a little bit closer to that lethal.
Yep.
7 armor is definitely relevant. Kept him from dying this turn.
Yep. That is
The following
13 points of damage. Still not enough to kill Musi here. He's going to need just a little bit more. Perhaps an Emperor Thorsan of his own if he has it. But we're getting relatively close to Guys being close to being killed here.
just killed immediately. Like
Yeah.
when you're playing against, you see the Leroy combo. I believe you saw Malagos last game, but just seeing that many threatening combos, and you're kind of a little bit afraid. Might just see him bob face here. Yeah, that puts 14 damage on there. Living Roots plus Moonfire is 13.
That is
That's
actually
innervate
lethal the next turn.
That's kind of scary.
He needs to innervate into his hero power in order to win the game. Musi does have Malagos here.
You know what card is going to come in clutch? Maybe keep lethal off Drain Life.
Yeah.
Yes. Just see this Drain Life running the turn. It's gonna be great.
Here we have been just insulting this Drain Life so much, and here it is possibly going to keep him in the game here. Oh my gosh!
Also, funnily enough, the Frost Elemental preventing 1 damage lethal.
Yeah.
I think maybe doesn't know about it, but it's hilarious.
Yeah. Ooh, don't life tap here, Musi. Don't life tap here, buddy. Come on. Oh my gosh. He has been hovering over the Drain Life. The question really is, because Malagos only costs 6 mana right now. So if he were to play it next turn, he has so much mana to do so many things. Ancient of War. Not exactly what he was looking for, but definitely very, very close. It's going to be hard for Musi to get in with some sort of Leroy combo if he has the Ancient of War up. It also provides a very solid body on the board. I'm also trying to see if Musi just has lethal in his hand currently.
Is the faceless for something like Malagos?
Oh, yeah, you're
and
right.
the Leroy now. So
oh my god.
10 damage basically on the board clears. He has 20, 24, 26 with Drain Life. So if he sees it, he does have lethal.
Yeah. He needs to play Malagos, copy Malagos with Faceless Manipulator, Drain Life, and then Soulfire. Because that's a total of plus 10 spell damage. So that's 12 plus 14, 26. Like that's exact.
Yeah, he also has just clearing the board Leroy, Power Overwhelming, Faceless will be
Yep.
for 20, and then 4-2 for 26 again. So 2 different flavors of lethal coming out. Very exciting. And we do see Moosey's going to take game 2. Warlock prevailing again, showing us the power of Drain Life.
You know, a lot of people talked about, you know, this Malagos Warlock falling off after Dark Bomb rotating, but now we're seeing, you know, hey, why don't we just play Drain Life instead? I mean,
It's basically
why not,
the
right?
same card. I mean, it costs more, it does less, but it heals you and it provides fantastic lethal scenarios.
I mean, to be fair to Drain Life, there are situations where you can play it on turn 3 and you don't feel awful about it, but you still kind of feel bad. Like being able to clear like maybe a small time Buccaneer or even another very low health minion and being able to heal off of it means that you're healing close to like 5 health around, especially because the heal from the Drain Life and also the minion that you're removing.
It's not the worst rate. It's just a little mana wise, but yeah, being able to deal with something like Small Time Buccaneer, which hey,
speaking of pirates, yep,
it's time to go face, everybody.
Yep.
Don't play cards with like Heroic Strike to trade.
Yep. Not unless you're playing the mirror match. So here we go. We're not in charge here. We're in charge from the deck. And Guys has the technical skills to attack with the patches on the turn that he has played. The only problem now is that he can't play a weapon to buff up his small time Buccaneer. I mean, there's a weapon, but I think we're just gonna be throwing out the South Sea Captain here.
South Sea Captain's a ridiculously good turn 2 play after 2 pirates on 1.
Yeah.
Being able to actually just use the small time Buccaneer to kill off the Dark Peddler and basically make your board uncontested. And Demon Wrath sucks, but you still have a South Sea Captain afterward. Demon Wrath's going to get you eventually, but you can see Moosey doesn't even have the Demon Wrath yet. Do something like Shadow Bolt or an Imp Gang Boss, which means more time for face damage. I'm excited.
I'm in face now. Oh my gosh. I think Guys is actually debating back and forth whether to go face or whether to trade here. And I think
2 damage is a lot.
Yeah.
You can't let down 2 damage.
Lucy is drawing the Summoning Portal, which in this matchup is a little bit of a dead draw. Shadow Bolt coming out for the 3/3. Definitely a very good play. Takes 5 damage off the board, which is pretty big, and there's a Bloodsail Cultist that's not going to be buffing up any weapon here. It's definitely a little obnoxious for... If I was Guys right now, I would definitely be very angry at the lack of weapons being drawn.
Yeah, when you have essentially like something like 6 cards between Arcanite Reaper, Fireaxe, and the first mate to have a weapon and make not only the Bloodsail Cultist great, the Small Time Buccaneer great, the Bloodsail, like when half your cards are synergizing, you draw nothing but 5 mana cards in Heroic Strike. But
yeah,
that Arcanite Reaper on 5 is going to put a massive pressure between the Dread Corsair and then following the next turn with potentially 13 damage off the top.
No, here's a big question. Do you use Heroic Strike to kill the 2/4 here? Because that is arguably the play to consider. Because having that 2/4 means that he can trade with your Bloodsail Cultist, which is a lot more damage off the board than, you know, trading with Patches or Small Time Buccaneer. It does lose you 4 face damage, but it could possibly help you preserve that board a little bit better.
I think killing the 2/4 here, well, he's maybe considering not clearing off the board. Dropping the taunt lets him basically be at close to parity and is worth there. But he is just going to drop Bloodsail Raider and possibly Hero Power. Not going to matter that much, but letting Imp Gang Boss get out of hand is a little scary.
Yeah, especially for an aggro deck. I think they just kill the Bloodsail Raider here. I mean, oh, comes Azure Drake. Seems like the best play for him to be doing on curve. Draws him a card. We will surely miss you, Azure Drake, as you leave us in the future. But as of right now, it is still an incredibly powerful card. And Moosey is now slowly taking control of the board here. Arcanite Reaper coming down, which also means a Dread Corsair. South Sea Captain also coming off the top. This is definitely a lot of damage.
I think guys is no longer considering trading. We are all
Yeah.
in on this phase plan. Putting your opponent to 10 and basically saying, hey, I have lethal on
Either-
board again, like every single turn of the game. You have to clear. And even then, I might still just be able to kill you. I
Yeah,
was thinking,
either-
like, the Bloodsail can trade out here just because he does double Heroic Strike, which is 13 damage, but he'd rather not risk it.
Yeah. Ooh, there is the drain life, but I don't think it's going to be helping him enough here, as we do see 2 heroic strikes just chilling in Guys' hand here.
I wish Drain Life healed for as much as it dealt damage. That seems like a design.
Yeah.
All these nerfs Blizzard needs to get on this. Make
Yeah.
Drain Life great again.
Make Drain Life great again. Was it ever great? Was there ever a point where Drain Life was just amazing? Even in beta, I don't think it was really great.
I think it was different in the beta. I'm not positive on that, but it could have been. It seems like a card they changed a little bit later, but
Right.
we need to make it great again.
I mean, I definitely agree. Here comes the Drain Life onto the Dread Corsair here. It seems like its best target. We're going to trade our way with the rest of the minions and just hope. Lucy's just going to hope that he just doesn't have some ridiculous amount of damage just sitting in his hand.
Unfortunately, that is just what guys.
Oh, Frothing
Damage, which-
Berserker.
Convenient amount of damage. Frothing Berserker is interesting. I think I
Yep.
see it in a lot of the pirate lists, but it kind of occupies the same spot as the Southseed Captain.
Yep.
Like 3 drops that kind of impact the board, but
Yeah.
that's interesting.
You see one or the other, but not both. And finally, the Warlock goes down for Moosey, and Guys is going to pick up his first win with his Pirate Warrior. But it does leave Moosey the ability to counter his deck. Out of his Druid, Hunter, Mage, Paladin, and Priest, what do you think has the best way to deal with the Pirate Warrior deck?
Depending on the type of mage deck, we've seen a lot of people, specifically a lot of pros, looking towards something like Reno Mage, just because you have those early tools and can follow up with Reno and then a lot of really powerful late game effects and board clears.
Right.
So we might be seeing Mage, especially since you have things like Ice Block and sometimes some other healing effects or ice barrier effects. So I think that might just have the best shot. It depends on what flavor of mage he's deciding to play. If it's something like Freeze Mage gets pressured early and doesn't really have time to compensate for it, but we're gonna see Paladin coming out, so let's see what kind of Paladin.
Is that a Yogg-Saron?
It appears to be a Yogg
And a Blessed
Hope's
Champion.
End.
Oh my gosh.
If Warlock was any indicator that Musi having fun in this particular grudge match, then Blessed Champion Yogg-Saron Paladin is going to be the
Yeah.
cementing factor that he's right.
I mean, Moosey definitely picking up possibly the best card in this matchup, Burn Bristle. Oh my god, I cannot remember his name. Wicker Flame Burn Bristle.
He's
Wow.
certainly an interesting alliteration of
Yeah.
good sounds.
But the only problem is that Guys' turn 2 is just so slow. He's not going to be able to do anything to follow up. You know, this. You see, the great thing about Pirate Warrior is that, you know, a lot of the times you're curving into a Fiery War Axe. That has been so aptly named Fiery Wind Axe, especially in the past. But not being able, he's going to have to top deck it here. And Azoth's first mate is sadly not what he's looking for.
Not quite Fiery War Axe. Doesn't add enough power. Heroic Strike unfortunately can't clear the Doomsayer, so
Yeah.
likely to see 2 pokes to the face, and small time Buccaneer and Patches will go where they belong and burn in the apocalypse of Doomsayer.
Yeah. I mean, do you play N'Zoth's first mate here? I mean, I think it's not too bad. You push for a little bit of extra damage, and you also get a weapon that you can then upgrade or even just use for your other pirate cards.
I think the fact that he doesn't have another play or anything to follow up other than this N'Zoth's first mate until means that, and especially since Paladin likely doesn't have a good play on turn 2 other than Hero Power, so
Ooh.
N'Zoth's first mate and small time Buccaneer are going to be a really powerful follow up to this.
Yeah. And it also makes that Wicker Flame Burn Bristle a little bit better, or a little bit worse, should I say? Just because now Guys just has a lot easier way of dealing with that 2/2 Divine Shield. He can't just trade right into it and then have a Core Crown Elite to follow it up.
Yeah, Guy's not losing any minion forward
Ooh.
momentum. Frothing Berserker's tempting, but I think the Kor'kron Elite clear is just a little bit cleaner, and Guy's not losing any forward momentum off just playing out minions from his hand and still getting phase damage going is too much to pass up.
I mean, but like Frothing Berserker is a much better creature to keep on the board than Kor'kron Elite is, and Kor'kron Frothing Berserker also like plays fairly well into Aldor Peacekeeper. You know, because its attack might still be reduced to 1, but as long as you're still like dealing damage to other minions, or the other minions are trying to trade with yours, you still have a body that just keeps getting bigger and bigger on the board, where you can hold onto the Kor'kron Elite for a big swing turn. I mean, we are looking at, you know, 12 points of burst damage in Guy's hand right now. But seeing that he's going for this trade right here, he is going to probably play the Kor'kron Elite on curve and go for face for 4.
I'm not sure. He's playing around Consecrate, but I think value trading or value using the Kor'kron Elite to kill the 2/2 is just a little bit more powerful than essentially losing your Kor'kron Elite's power now.
Yeah.
There's way too many cards other than Consecration that can punish. So we might just be. Guys might fire off a heroic here, just being able to keep minions on the board, and especially being able to develop the Frothing Berserker essentially as a 5-power creature after all said and done. It's a pretty powerful effect that even True Silver is going to cost him a lot.
Yeah, and even after seeing like a humility, I think it's fair to keep it on the board, especially because it preserves the amount of minions on your board. So he's, you know, you might still be holding on to a couple 1-attack minions, but you know, Musi is taking 5 damage in order to deal with that Frothing Berserker. So
yeah, Musi's not wasting any time clearing it. Way too much pressure, and Guys doesn't. Yeah, Forbidden Healing not going to be super relevant until a lot later. He's not actually putting a lot of damage on him. Pirate can have, especially Warrior with Mortal Strike and Heroic Strike, conveniently in Guys' hand.
Right.
Can't have a lot of burst damage out of nowhere that might make you think, oh, maybe I don't need a Forbidden Healing from 18 or 20 this turn. Maybe I can wait one more turn. You can get punished for that, but True Silver clearing out the South Sea Deckhand, South Sea Captain, and the Emperor Thor's not reducing all, but getting lay on hands a turn sooner is a big deal.
I mean, that Arcanite Reaper is also a pretty huge swing. I mean, that's 10 points of damage with 8 points to follow it up with Heroic Strike and Mortal Strike. So it's definitely a pretty big swing. I mean, the other problem is that we now see an Emperor Thorsan in a Paladin deck. So pros like to say that Emperor Thorsan has a thing called Super Taunt, where it doesn't exactly have taunt, but if you don't remove it immediately, it's going to cause a lot of problems for you. Forbidden Healing finally coming out.
Fortunately for Guys, he has lots of face damage and doesn't care if the Paladin combo's off, so he's just going to fire off the Heroic Strike and deal 9 damage to face, which forces out that Forbidden Healing for 14. And it's a big chunk of life that Guys really can't ignore anymore. And Heroic Strike and Arcanite Reaper are half his burst damage, so.
Yeah, that Forbidden Healing definitely set him back a little bit. Arcanite Reaper, probably going to trade it in here. I mean, it's definitely a little upsetting to not be able to use that amount of burst damage, but, you know, having you know, especially with this, like, Guys is probably relieved that he didn't, you know, let that
Emperor live. Yeah.
That Emperor live. Yeah.
I think we're getting to the point where now Pirate Warrior is officially low to out of steam. He's now have that awkward draw of having multiple weapons in his hand that he can't really. He can't spend 3 turns poking for 1 damage with N'Zoth's first mate before Musi ends up finding some kind of combo. Something. We don't know exactly what's going to, but Blessed Champion's involved. So. And Leroy Jenkins is involved.
Yep, Leroy Jenkins is also involved. I mean, the brand tells me that there's probably a Don Honcho in this deck. I mean, is there any other reason to run Grand Bronzebeard in this deck?
Ivory Knight value, but those maybe a little bit of value. But I think, and there he is.
Oh, yep, there he is. How?
The
And
Dawn
he's playing
himself.
Wild Pyromancer just so he can guarantee the fact that he's going to get it onto Leroy. Bloodsail Cultist. Ugh. Not really looking too appealing here, but it is his only minion in hand, so he might actually have to play it here. Along with his Fiery War Axe. Oh, he's just going to clear the 3-2 and pass. Armor up.
Oh no, Wild Pyro, don't do it.
Oh, no.
New Wild Pyro up the top means... Oh, no, actually, yeah. He has enough mana, thanks to double tick off Emperor, to throw out that and guarantee that Leroy is now 16 power, possibly 32 power next turn.
Yep.
The funny part is that basically Don Honcho himself, a 5-6 for 7, is going to probably just win the game on its own, but it is going to be fun to watch Leroy Jenkins go full Super Saiyan here, I think.
Yep.
I think that's kind of what Blessed Champion does.
And now it's time to go even further beyond. Boom! Wham!
That was fun. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But we do see Moosey's Paladin deck win against the Pirate Warrior of Guys. Another fun OTK. And hopefully some more interesting, fun matchups are going to be awaiting in the future. Not to say that Pirate Warrior isn't interesting, but it is interesting when it gets domed for 32 by...
Yeah. Guys is now going to be playing his mage deck, sporting that Khadgar portrait, and it looks like he is definitely going to be playing that tempo mage.
Yeah, the signs are unmistakable. Mana Worm, Flamewaker, especially keeping a Flamewaker in the opening hand definitely gives you a powerful option. Being on the draw is really powerful. Coin, spell synergy. Guys basically has everything he can ask for here. He's got Mana Worm, he's got Frostbolt and Arcane Blast for early interaction.
Blast too. Like Moosey showed that he's running a lot of little guys. So even if he, having that Arcane Blast is definitely really good because Moosey curving into any sort of minion that can contest the Mana Worm means it can be immediately removed by the Arcane Blast.
I think we're likely to just see. We might see a coin Flamewaker. Paladin doesn't have a lot of good answers aside from Doomsayer to early game minions before something like turn 4.
Right.
So being able to drop Flamewaker essentially uncontested, pumping up the Mana Worm with the coin, puts a lot of pressure on Lucy and basically makes Doomsayer not a viable play anymore.
Yep. I mean, the other thing is that since he's holding onto that Frostbolt in his hand, if he's worried about a turn 4 True Silver Champion, he can always just Frostbolt the face. And that guarantees him just another turn with the Flamewaker.
I think it's definitely an interesting play. And if he has the soul read on True Silver and the soul read on the opponent not having something like Pyro quality, which Lucy unfortunately has.
Right.
But I mean, just being able to throw spells out, which he is doing, he puts 4 damage to the face, especially another 4 damage. 10 damage in one turn is nothing to laugh at. I think we've prompted Moosey's hand with Pyro quality. He can't let both those minions stay on the board.
Yeah. But this also allows for guys to play a Water Elemental, which is also going to help, screw up, a lot of Moosey's removal here.
Timoni's not going to do a whole lot. It lowers it enough where Sarah might be able to clear. That's what he just decided to do. I like this just because Mage, obviously they have things like Fireball, but they like to keep those spells for later game damage to try and burst the Paladin down before he can get large Forbidden Healings and lay on hand. So forcing out a Fireball here or in first shot at playing your own Emperor is a big deal for her.
You do have to ping the 1/1 here just to play around Solemn Vigil. Yep. But it looks like both Moosey and Guys are both going to be playing their own respective Emperor Taurus hands.
In the Emperor fight, the first person is usually a little bit better off, and especially having a humility to follow means that 2 ticks off Emperor is a big deal. Yeah, between Ragnaros and Firelands Portal in his hand, it's I think it'd be a little bit scary for Musi that he doesn't have he doesn't actually have an answer for Ragnaros at all, other than maybe forcing a couple spells through like Hammer of Wrath and True Silver, or Pyro Hammer of Wrath, or even Leroy himself, his often forgotten removal spell
Yeah.
aspect of Leroy. I probably needs that for the combo. So
Arcane Missile's being picked up. I don't think he's going to be playing it. I personally would hold on to it because, you know, if this is a true Tempo Mage deck, then there is probably going to be probably an Archmage Antonitis later. And having that 1 mana Sorcerer's Apprentice means that you can definitely get a lot more value and a lot more fireballs off of the Archmage Antonitis later.
I think that's what he's debating right now, because he could try and get the board back with Sorcerer's Apprentice plus that Firelands Portal, putting
Right.
2 minions on the board. Really powerful effect, and that is what he decides to do.
All right, let's see what he gets. Ooh.
Venture
Not
Cult is a
exactly.
large man.
Yeah, it's not the worst thing that can happen. I think it's only really punished by humility, but we've already seen a couple of humilities, or we've already seen a humility come out from Musi. So I doubt that he's running 2 of them. I mean, I personally wouldn't run 2. I would probably run like if I needed to run more than one, I would run like a 1-1 split of Aldor Peacekeeper and humility, because having that 3/3 body is a little bit better than
Yeah,
having that 1 mana
I believe
split.
we already saw both humilities.
Hmm.
Guise's Emperor after it came out, so he's really only worried about Aldor Peacekeeper, and I think we're likely to see that Consecration clear here. It lets him keep another 1/1 on the board, which has been relevant the last couple turns. So, and now has Leroy and the Blessed Champion already in hand. Guise now gets to drop the Ragnaros from his hand because the Venture goes off, and hopefully this Arcane Missile clearing off the 1/1, so Ragnaros doesn't accidentally hit it.
Yep.
Now Musi has a bit of a problem.
Yeah, and even more of a problem because this mirror image is going to make it a lot harder for him to remove Ragnaros, because, as we all know, 8 damage is pretty hard for a paladin to do to a single target without using lots of spells. So, he does pick up the Hammer of Wrath, but still not enough to get rid of this Ragnaros here. Struggle to think. Like, do you just flood the board in hope and develop that True Silver Champion for a little bit of extra healing?
I think Wild Pyro and Hammer of Wrath trying to hit something. It is 4 damage with the Wild Pyro. Can potentially clear out those mirror image tokens with another spell. And I don't think he's likely to drop the Blessed Champion right now. Just he does die actually if he does that. So
Yeah.
flooding the board now. Ozra Drake, a very good pickup for guys. Being able to cycle through something like Arcane Missiles would be fantastic since it lessens the odds of that. Fireball also fantastic because it kills Musi. So
Yeah. So it looks like Guys' Tempo Mage is going to take out Musi's combo Paladin here. We are going to move on to game 6, I believe.
yes, round number 6.
All right, so Musi does have a Druid, a Hunter, a Mage, and a Priest. So seeing that that Guys does have to stick with that Tempo Mage, what deck do you think Musi's going to bring out here?
Depending on the particular flavor of mage, like I kind of said before, if it's Reno Mage, you do have a lot of early game aggression from the Tempo Mage deck, and having that strong late game of Ice Block, and even something like Reno in the late game, and something like Freeze Mage as well can Ice Block out, Ice Barrier out, and preserve its life total. But
Right.
also could see Druid not really the healing, since they kind of stopped running a lot of the Moonglade portal that gives them a lot of late game staying power. But we are going to see Mage come out. Evolved Kobold from Musi
Is this
signals the
another
Freeze
combo
Mage.
deck?
He does have a decent number of combo decks. I like Musi's attitude. He's
All right, because this looks like combo deck number 3. No, like Tempo Mage or even Reno Mage runs Evolved Kobold unless you
yeah.
have some sort of Ice Lance combo at the top. Like, This has to be another one. Just looking at the cards in his hand.
We're setting a good send-off for Ice Lance here.
Yeah. There's a Blizzard and a Forgotten Torch. So
yeah, that Blizzard also pretty clearly. If the Evolved Kobold didn't tip you off, Blizzard will also do it. And say that we're going to be seeing the fun matchup of Tempo Mage versus Freeze Mage.
Yeah.
Kind of figuring out who can get a lot of early damage out. If Freeze Mage can survive without, usually to like turn 7 or 8 without being put to 1 health and forced to ice block every turn.
Ooh. That is so much damage for the Flame Waker.
One of the biggest other threats to Freeze Mage's staying power that we saw last game happen to the Paladin is that Ragnaros is an 8/8 that doesn't get killed very easily. Freeze Mage doesn't have the card slots to play something like Polymorph or any kind of good effect. Firelance Portal, not really to contest the board. There's a lot of powerful minions, powerful spells and minions coming out from guys.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you do develop the Mana Worm this turn and just kind of turn and ping out the Loot Hoarder here.
That Mana Worm is something like 5 damage next turn. Flame Waker representing another 8 or so. That's a lot of damage that could be coming out. But Moosey knows
clearly the Forgotten Torch turn. I mean, you have to get it out of the hand so that you can get the Roaring Torch in the deck for later. But this also is Flame Waker, Coin, Sorcerer's Apprentice into like 2 more spells. That is a lot of damage coming out this turn.
A lot of damage that before turn 5 or turn 6 and 7, Freeze Mage doesn't have fantastic answer to. Blizzard shuts off the board but doesn't deal with the Flame Waker right away, and
he just dealt 9 damage in 1 turn and developed 4 minions. Like it's gonna be hard for Moosey to trade. Like he's Flame Waker here because he just can't let that live. Oh, he's gonna use the Blood Mage Thalanos. Yeah,
Flame Waker is far too threatening, and I like the development of Blood Mage Thalanos. You don't really need it.
You need a significant less damage in. Good. If he can just, oops, I just got a Flame Waker, or even, oops, I got an Archmage Ant.
Unfortunately, neither of those. Sorcerer's
Apprentice is also pretty good.
Not doing a whole lot, and if we see Blizzard coming out the next turn, it is going to clear out both of those and put that Firelance Portal back another turn. So,
is that another Yogg-Saron?
Yogg-Saron Freeze Mage, very controversial, but very funny at the same time.
I am fairly certain we have seen a Yogg-Saron in every single one of Moosey's decks. I'm fairly certain.
It's not the worst strategy.
I mean, it's fair. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that we've seen it in every deck.
Definitely not the worst strategy. It rewards the bold. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
And right now, Moosey's ahead, 3-2 right now. So he's playing bold. He's playing smart. He's playing Yogg-Saron.
I mean, the only as of right now, Guys is just going to have a little bit of an issue just keeping up with the gas. He is going pretty hard on the face here. But Lucy is holding on to that ice block, so that's going to be a little hard for him.
I like this play a lot. Being able to, from the Tempo Mage side, being able to burst down your opponent, it gets to the turns of basically Freeze Mage wants to go off, but is forced to ice block every turn if they can't like immediately kill you. So.
Right. He does have the Firelance Portal in hand, and he does have the Arcane Missile, so that is a decent amount of damage. Plus the Barnes as well.
He's at 3. That's a very scary life total to be at.
Yep. Ooh, and an Avian Watcher. Not the best, but still pretty decent here.
I think at this point, toughness doesn't matter so much. He already attacked with Barnes, so he knows it's not Ice Barrier, and just having a decent amount of health and surviving anything but like a Fireball or something like that. Surviving something like Flame Strike is pretty good for any minion that can pop that Ice Block right off the bat.
There's that Alexstrasza. So playing Blizzard here is going to force Guys to use another spell on his hand. This is a pretty good play by Moosey here. Also reducing the health means that he'll have a little bit of an easier time dealing with the Avian Watcher. But oh my gosh.
This is a really sick anthem.
Yeah.
Just basically, Musie's now in a super conflicted spot where he has to Alexstrasza himself to live. If he draws Ice Block, he has to clear out the Antonidas as well,
Yep.
which lets him pop the other Ice Block. So it's a dire situation here, and
Yeah.
basically
I mean,
he has to Alexstrasza.
he can fireball 2 times next turn. Ooh, he's digging for the ice block. It's a forgotten
Unfortunately, does not
torch.
find it, and I
Ooh,
think
yeah.
Musie's out of options here.
Yeah, I
Yep, Ping Self always an option.
mean,
We're gonna
and
see,
it looks
guys, take game number 6. Tempo Mage over Freeze Mage.
Yep.
Prevailed in the Mage Mirror. Not entirely unexpected. Tempo Mage having that ping hero power means that he can pressure ice blocks in the late game, so
Yeah.
not surprised to see that scenario play out.
So now we have the Druid, the Hunter, and the Priest left for Musi. I would probably argue the Priest. I mean, if it's anything like a Dragon Priest, then you'd be able to contest the board fairly early with lots of taunts and high health minions, and then also have cards like Bookworm and Corrupted, or Blackwing Corruptor, and Holy Nova, and Dragonfire Potion, and Shadow Word Death. There's a lot of removal in that deck that can slowly just gain the advantage for Musi. I mean, he also has the Draconet Operative as well, which can give him like Fireballs and Frost Bolts if that's the type of deck that he's running. I mean, we also see the standard Reno Priest that has lots of self healing. And if it's any sort of fun deck that Musi has been showing, at least at the past 3 decks that we've seen, maybe it's a Shadow Priest. Who knows?
Yeah, could be Reno Priest, could be Shadow Prophet Velen, Mind Blast, Malagos Priest. We have no idea at this point, and we're excited to see. But something like Reno Priest has that healing capability to try and beat out the Tempo Mage deck. But
Right.
right now, this looks like pretty typical Priest cards, except for maybe Loot Hoarder. Loot Hoarder is a
Yeah.
little bit out of place, but could be Nazoth, could be anything. We're
Yeah. Could even be a
excited
boat.
to see.
I've already
It
made that
could be a
joke.
boat. It could be an OTK boat. Who knows?
Note to self: stop making boat jokes. All right.
Make boat jokes great again.
Make boat jokes great again. Oh my gosh. Now what Blizzard has to do is they have to make me happy, and they have to put in a boat card just so I can, at least when I say it could be a boat, it might actually could be a boat, as
Has to
opposed
be
to
an
me just
RNG card like the Mechgineer, or not
yeah
Mechgineer, whatever the guy who makes one of the inventions should be a boat. Way it could
yeah.
be anything.
You could at least have a boat that like spawns 4 pirates when it dies, like 4/1/1s.
Don't
Like
give Blizzard any ideas, please.
it.
I think a little subtle difference that we're going to be seeing in this match compared to the other match is that Tempo Mage is now in the play. Losing the
Yeah.
coin means you're losing an extra spell, which means Flamewaker and Mana Worm are a little bit worse. And Doomsayer here for Musi countering the Sorcerer's Apprentice, forcing out either a Fireball or just losing Sorcerer's Apprentice and all tempo he has. So this is a
Yeah.
really interesting turn for him.
I mean, I don't think I hate the fireball here. I mean, I think you can push out more damage with the Flame Waker than you can with the single fireball. So being able to preserve that Flame Waker and also force like some sort of other removal spell out of Musi is pretty good for him. Forward Shield. That means that Loot Hoarder is going to be able to draw 2 cards and still be able to draw with that trade with that Sorcerer's Apprentice. That's a
That's
Divine
Divine
Spirit.
Spirit.
Yep.
That card has fantastic text on it, doubles a minion's health, usually combined with Inner Fire to massively kill your opponent with some kind of it's the Stormwind Knight was the 2/5 charge. There's a lot of ways to kill, but
Um,
that's usually
I,
the funniest way.
I've been seeing a lot of decks that have been running Ginny of Zephyrs, and yep, and there's the Inner Fire. They've been running Ginny of Zephyrs as well as the Potion of Madness and Pint Size Potion in order to give your Ginny of Zephyrs charge, and then double up and just go ham with the Divine Spirit and the Inner Fire. Because it doesn't matter what attack the minion that you steal, you're just gonna double the health and then give it
Yeah,
attack equal its health.
that is interesting. Odds are coming up for guys. advancing the board a little bit. His hand is a little bit awkward. Something like an Emperor next turn could be fantastic, and even Arcane Missiles, letting him have turn 7 Firelance Portal, turn 8 Antonitis plus.
Yep. I mean, do you trade away? If anything, you know, there were recent news that we're going to lose Azure Drake in the next expansion, and if anything is an indication as to why that thing is going to be banned, because of this is clearly it. Like, Musi is playing it on obviously because, you know, he's running some sort of inner fire divine spirit deck, and he needs something to draw him a card, and also the spell damage is nice in some occasions. But at the same time, like, Guys is running it because it's spell damage and draw a card. Like, there are so many cards that utilize this, both ends of that Azure Drake, and fits at a nice spot in the curve. So, you know, definitely a powerful card.
Yeah, I could rant about Azure Drake the rest of the entire stream about. It's a 5-drop. There aren't that many good 5-drop. Spell damage. It has a good battle cry, and it's a dragon. That all these things together, that even if it had one less thing, it wouldn't be nearly as good. But the fact that it does makes it so ubiquitous and playable in. Oh, you have dragons? I'm going to play Azure Drake. Oh, I have spells? I'm going to play Azure Drake. It's a very powerful card. Obviously sad to see it go, but I understand basically why they're choosing to do so.
Musi now doing a pretty powerful turn, making that Priest of the Feast at 312 is definitely going to be hard for Guys to deal with here. I mean, we also see another Divine Spirit, another Inner Fire. If he can hold on to this mirror image, then, you know, it's good for him. But I don't know if he wants to play around the Inner Fire. Would you play around the Inner Fire after seeing, like, a Divine Spirit being placed on the Priest of the Feast?
I think more than playing against the playing around Inner Fire is that Divine Spirit on the 312. The fact that the Priest of the Feast is living in the first place means that he's basically gaining whatever tempo advantage back from, or any damage advantage back. So a 6 damage Firelance Portal does let him clear here. 4/4, pretty typical, maybe a little bit below average, but I think this is less playing around Inner Fire and comboing off than it is playing around Priest of the Feast itself, being able to gain back like 9 or 12 life.
Right.
We're going to see, likely, I think Antonitis plus Arcane Missiles. He still has a spell damage.
I mean,
he could trade off the 4/4 first as well.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is that he does have the Barnes. He could find an Emperor Thorastan. Like, that is possibly the best thing that he can find, and then he can ping the 1/1 and trade away the Azure Drake. But I think we're just gonna see Archmage Antonitis come down, because that fireball is still pretty good.
Especially since the Priest has used both the Shadow Word Pains, hasn't used any Shadow Word Death, but if he's just firing off something like Divine Spirit, he might have like a lot of combo cards. He might have a really awkward draw or something like that. But he does have the Shadow Word Death. Likely seeing that, and we might be seeing just Acolyte and then giving it extra health. This is more interesting. Never mind. Faceless Manipulator could be Antonitis, Shadow Word Death, and even Divine Spiriting the Antonitis. Oh, he can't. He doesn't have enough mana.
Oh no. He could just coin and, like, Inner Fire and make it a 7/7 and get another Fireball. And, like, that's 3 Fireballs sitting in Musi's hand right now.
I think now his focus is going to be preventing any more, like, crazy burst damage coming out from Guys trying to heal up a little bit. This triple Fireball means that he basically controls the board from the rest of the game.
Yep.
Nothing short of something like Ragnaros is going to really contest the board against his spell damage hand.
Right. Mage Thalanos being picked up, it might just be the best thing for him to play right now, just to get rid of the Archmage Antonitis. Sorcerer's Apprentice also being played.
Or even just fire off 7 damage to face could be good, but he is deciding to just clear out that Antonitis.
Yeah, I think not giving your opponent basically infinite fireballs is, you know, definitely the line of play to do here. Azure Drake now being picked up once again by Musi here. Sitting on a Cabal Talon Priest and a and an Acolyte of Pain. So that could be a play that he might want to try.
I'm going to be saying just from this point of the game onward, he just every single unconditionally just he needs enough health back to beat out that burst damage that he could have.
Oh my gosh.
It's not Ragnaros, but I think he works for Ragnaros. I think that's what Flame Wake.
Yeah, they're in Molten Core somewhere. I don't know.
Fair enough. I think we're likely to see Frostbolt going phase, Sorcerer's Apprentice trading off so the Flame Waker doesn't accidentally draw Moosey 6 cards.
Yep. And you do see basically another draw spell in here with Northshire Cleric. But that is Moosey being taken down very, very low here. He's going to have to at least spend 2 mana to heal himself here. I mean, he doesn't really have anything else to do.
I think we're likely to see Fireball on the 2/3 power minions, and obviously trying to fade a removal spell for a turn.
I mean, I think Guys just needs a Fireball here and he wins.
Yeah, definitely. And Arcane Intellect, next best thing.
Yeah,
maybe even better than a small
definitely
damage.
Close enough. I mean,
I believe Arcane Missiles is enough, but Forgotten Torch is definitely going to seal the deal. Yeah. And Guys is going to take round number 7. Yeah. Moosey's Priest. It's a shame we did not get to see any kind of fantastic Divine Spirit Inner Fire shenanigans, but good, honest Tempo Mage taking it round number 7.
An oldie but goodie, as we like to say.
I don't know about goodie.
I mean,
definitely a mean deck, but definitely a good deck. I enjoy it. I enjoy Inner Fire Priest more, though, so I'm a little bit jaded. Speaking of Jade, we still have Druid left, right? For Moosey? All right. I think we have one other deck as well.
And that's definitely a combo deck, right? You think that's a combo
Jade,
deck?
kind of. It combines ramp spells with powerful minions, so that's a combo.
Yeah.
However, this is not probably Jade. This looks like Kun the Forgotten King deck. So this, for anybody that doesn't know, Kun is a very powerful card when combined with Aviana. Lets you use Aviana, then Kun, refresh your mana, and now you have 10 mana to play with Malagos, Faceless, any kind of crazy cards like that.
Also, a crowd favorite has been Cthulhu, especially with playing the 6/7 taunts. Being able to play those 6/7 taunts on like turn 4 with a lot of your ramp spells is pretty good. So
maybe more ubiquitous than any kind of comp is that we've seen Moosey, I believe every deck he's had Doomsayer. That's just an indicator of how powerful Doomsayer is in these kind of combo versus basically anything matchup. That Doomsayer is rarely dead, usually can be used either as a gain life spell or contest the board and gain tempo, so never doubt Doomsayer. Very powerful man.
Yep. I mean, if anything's good for Moosey right now is that Guys has yet to resolve a minion, and oh no. Well, we now know that it's the Aviana Kun combo. As if it could have been anything else, you know.
I like the Doomsayer play here. Going into this next turn, he knows that Guys has Barnes as well, so ensuring that he has tempo every single turn. A little unfortunate that he's hit 0 ramp spells. Likely just playing Wild Growth, but always unfortunate not hit that or the Innervate. And now Guys with Tempo Mage on the draw, with the coin, with lots of Arcane Missiles and spells, and Flame Waker, might be... Ooh, Nourish.
Yeah, Nourish is definitely looking pretty good. Does have 6 cards in his hand afterwards, so he's not going to overdraw, so this is definitely looking probably a draw 3.
I think he's... Oh, it's... Yeah, I was all in on the ramp idea. I thought, ramp, being able to even Wrath cycle. I think being able to get up to something like Aviana is a big deal.
Ooh.
1/1 Mana Worm, still very scary. Still might be swiped out here.
Freezing Moosey here is definitely... Freezing his face means that, he can't use his hero power to easily remove the Mana Worm here. So forcing the swipe is definitely pretty good. Doomsayer, the end is coming. Hopefully not for Guys. He's holding on to a lot of... Whoa, hi there, Archmage Antonitis.
I think we might be seeing the Flamewaker turn come out here. It's kind of like an auctioneer turn where you have to weigh risk reward and
Yep.
whether or not you can get enough spells or enough damage out. But I think the Doomsayer being on the board, ensuring that you can. I think it's pretty ensure. Like it's sub 10% that you don't at least hit Doomsayer with one ping if you shoot it with Forgotten or Frostbolt. So
Yeah, and he's also making it a little bit easier for himself by, trading with it first with the frost elemental. There it goes. He's not going to coin out our arcane missiles here. It looks like he's just going to save it for the Archmage Antonitis. But Lucy starting to get a little hard for him to remove some of these things. We in previous casts we've talked about Druid just having a hard time with lots of high health minions on the opponent's side of the field. If you have very few, very even low health minions, the swipe is very good to deal with them. They also have Wrath and Living Roots. But when you don't have access to this kind of thing, to lots of being able to deal with lots of high health minions like a Flame Strike or a Blizzard or even a Shadow Flame, we just saw like he had to spend at least two. He has to spend like 2 or even 3 spells in order to get rid of guys' whole board.
that's why you see sometimes the older spell-based Druid decks like to run one copy of Mulch.
Right.
Oftentimes in some of these matchups, there's just one minion that you can't really deal with. And in this game, it's probably Ragnaros. And I think Guys is thinking about either coining Ragnaros or Antonitis coin Arcane Missiles. And coin Ragnaros is very, very bad for Moosey right now. He doesn't have a good answer in his hand. Ozzer Drake plus 3 spells would do it, but that's unfortunately.
Also have a Auctioneer. I'm just struggling to think of what he's looking for here. He does have three. He does have at least 3 draws in his hand. He does have the Wild Growth. He has Moonfire. He has Wrath. He has Living Roots. But these all take away from possibly a Malagos combo later. So he's going to start with a Wild Growth. I guess he's looking for Mulch here, or maybe an Innervate. There's a Fandral Staghelm.
And another Living Roots.
Yep.
And Yogg-Saron, just a little
And
bit, a couple minutes off casting.
again.
It looks like he might just be making saplings here just to try and prolong the Wrath of Ragnaros. But look at Guys' hand. He has a lot of burst damage. Just the spells alone are 12 damage, so combined with the Water Elemental will be lethal if he doesn't clear it out.
Looks like he is going to use a Moonfire here. He does pick up a Swipe as well. You can use... Ooh. He is... I can definitely congratulate him for going through basically his whole pack. He still has yet to find a
this is kind of interesting just because he is going through the basically gives guys 1 or 2 turns, maybe a Ragnaros to kill him in order before something like Aviana Kun can potentially end the game.
He does have 8 damage from both Frostbolts, and then possibly he's just gonna use it straight. And then Arcane Missiles is definitely a good choice here, as it can just go wide and kill all.
That is a ridiculous Arcane Missiles. My goodness.
Wow. It's just a shame that he can't ping and get lethal, so there is an Innervate. Doesn't have Kun, but he does have Aviana here. Oh, is he gonna go for the Yogg?
I don't think he's all in on Yogg yet.
Yeah.
He was looking for a spell. Innervate is pretty
Innervate.
good. It gives him armor and potentially the Yogg.
Yep. All right, Feral Spirits is gonna come. Feral Rage is gonna come out.
Here we go.
Here we go. Here we go. Yogg-Saron. Spell number 1. Sleep with the Fishes. That's gonna hit nothing. Blood to Ichor. It's gonna get rid of that Blood Mage Thalnos. Explosive.
Aviana obviously can't live. Draws Kun. That is now gone.
Yep. Holy
wow! Good for you, Yogg.
Oh my god! Okay, here we go. Holy Smite goes to his own face. I know a guy. He's going to discover a Mogushan Warden. Hopefully that heals himself. It's going to heal the Yogg. 2 damage on... He is running out of cards. Okay, Shadow Strike on nothing. Hunter's Mark has to go onto Yogg.
Shooting own face, I think, spells lethal for him.
Bear Trap, Forgotten Torch. Oh no. Master Spell to silence it.
And Yogg dies to Shadow Step. That's sad.
Oh no.
Well, that was cool. Time to get
Yep.
fireballed.
Yep.
And
Well,
guys gonna take round number 8
yep.
after a fun Yogg that cleared the board. He did what he's supposed to do, but
Yeah.
he also didn't gain 20 life that Moosey needed. But definitely fun.
Definitely fun. Moosey does have his Hunter deck left. And the guy still has his Priest and his Warlock. I don't know if I have faith in the Hunter deck. And it's not because you know, oh, guys has been winning back to back to back, and it's more so like Hunter has been fairly underpowered in the more recent meta, and you know, all right, here we go.
But
Rexar
Mean Streets of
versus-
Gadgetzan did not gave a lot of but then it just gave something like specifically Rat Pack like we're seeing here, and of course Yogg-Saron.
And of course Yogg-Saron. I mean, what every single deck Moosey has played today has had a Yogg-Saron. I've probably said it like 100 times, but I mean,
we'll say it
what are you
100
gonna
more
do?
times because Yogg-Saron's fantastic. We see no spells in his hand. The best way to use Yogg-Saron. But things like Mean Streets of Gadgetzan didn't get like Rat Pack was okay.
You know,
All the Don Ho-Chan
Hyena coming out
effects.
from Moosey here, so maybe some sort of Tundra Rhino kind of deal a bunch of damage. Perhaps like that can be the only thing I foresee with the Scavenging Hyena. I know lots of people like to use the Unleash the Hounds, the Scavenging Hyena, make it huge. Grandmother being coined out here. Really a strong play, especially since Guys doesn't have a lot to follow it up with.
Yeah, Guys' hand is a little bit awkward. Flamewaker with no spells, nothing below 3 mana, no interaction, and double Big Bad Wolf is gonna not put a whole lot of pressure, but just those minions alone, combined with any kind of pump effect or combining it with something like Eagle Hornbow to clear out this Flamewaker, creating a 3/2. Cult Master is interesting. That's something we haven't seen since I think the original Buzzard nerf when everyone was trying to figure out how to make Unleash the Hounds still good.
Yep.
They figured out that Unleash the Hounds is still pretty good. So
I mean, the bow coming out for Moosey is definitely very good. Being able to clear away that Flamewaker does make it a lot harder for Guys to deal with the board as it stands. I mean, Mirror Image could provide a little bit of a buffer zone, but I feel like he's gonna save that 1 mana spell for Archmage Antonidas or something.
yeah, I think just curving Water Elemental into Drake and Drake, possibly hitting an Arcane Missiles or an Arcane Blast can give him a pretty strong, solid curve. And right now, Moosey doesn't have the most threatening board. It's a couple of minions.
Right.
It's not a whole. He hasn't put essentially any damage on the opponent yet. However, Hunter's Mark Plus trading in the Kindly Grandmother puts 8 damage on the board, and we know that Temple Mage doesn't have something like Flamewaker Blizzard to clear out these kind of minions, so this could be a little bit more awkward.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing to note is that it's probably not running Volcanic Potion. I think we've seen enough games with Guys that we've probably seen his whole deck, and we have yet to see a Volcanic Potion coming out of any of these games. So unless he ran only one and he really is unlucky, then, you know, probably not going to see a Volcanic Potion. Do see the Tundra Rhino, however, so that is definitely one part of the combo that Moosey is looking for. Master.
It's a fun little interaction with Rat Pack, since the rats that Rat Pack makes are beasts, does give them charge, essentially doubles the amount of power that Rat Pack can put out. On the other hand, Cult Master, oh
with
my
Rat Pack
oops.
and Tundra Rhino is also pretty good.
He does decide to keep the Rat Pack around, wants to trade off both of his Big Bad Wolves.
Ooh. And it does look like, I mean, being able to play Tundra Rhino and Scavenging Hyena with a Rat Pack out is definitely very, very good.
That could be a very fun turn 7 potential lethal. So Arcane Intellect, drawing a few more cards, hoping to hit a couple of those removal spells. Luckily, he does have now double mirror image to block out a lot of damage. Forgotten Torch taking care of the Cult Master, and I don't think we're going to be seeing the Arcane Missiles right now, but one mirror image should be good enough to keep guys feeling safe.
I mean, what cards are you worried about from Moosey that you would need multiple mirror images from?
From guys' perspective, I'd be worried about every single Moosey's deck based on the other deck choices he had. I'd be worried about Inner Fire. That would scare me. Inner Fire Hunter, I could see it happening.
Yeah.
But specifically, the Hunter typically doesn't have a lot of charge effects outside of the Tundra Rhino. It has a lot of sticky minions right now, like Rat Pack and.
So he's decided to play it a little bit more safe. Second Rat Pack being picked up from Moosey here. Explosive Trap, definitely a good pickup and definitely a good use from Moosey here. He's not going to get through all of those mirror images, but being able to at least, get rid of them in some case is pretty good.
Yeah, if he just drops another Rat Pack here, guys really doesn't want to use his packs because they're not super threatening right now. They're not getting through the mirror image or anything, so he's a little bit tempted to go face, but at the same time, it's just devastating. So
Right.
I'd be a little bit concerned.
And this does pose a little bit of an issue for the turn 7 Scavenging Hyena turn, because even if that explosive trap goes off, right? We don't see a lot of these rat packs or even the ones that they spawn. I don't think they're going to be dying anytime soon, especially since all these things have 0 attack. And that's I think that is the biggest hose to this combo. All right.
I like Antonitis, probably better than Fireland's Portal, and I think now it's just might just be killing a 1/1 here. Yeah.
So this does pose a little bit of an issue for Moosey here because he doesn't have that Hunter's Mark in order to deal with Archmage Antonitis. And it looks like Guise is going to continue playing around Explosive Trap. So I don't think he's going to go in lethal here, but it also makes it harder for Moosey to get off that combo with the Scavenging Hyena. He is holding on to a couple Dire Wolves, which could help him progress the board a little further and say, hey guys, if you don't have a Flame Strike, then I'm just going to run away with the board.
Having Doomsayer here, it presents a kind of a hard scenario for the guys to try and deal with. I may have liked one of the Dire Wolves being dropped just so we could clear out 2 of the mirror image tokens, and the Eaglehorn Bow could potentially take out the last one on the next turn.
Right.
But and that I'm think Tundra Rhino plus the Hyena, it gives, I don't think it gives 20 something damage with what he currently has, but it certainly gives a decent amount, and being able to get through any number of minions could be good. Resourcer's Apprentice plus Antonitis is a little bit scary for Moosey just because essentially getting 2 free fireballs, 3 the next turn. You're just going to save and fire off a Firelands Portal, giving him vanilla 5 mana 4/4.
Yeah. I mean, it's at times like this where I wish that that Echo of Medivh was still in the format, because being able to Echo of Medivh a Shadowcaster and get another Sorcerer's Apprentice and, basically start to go off with 1 mana fireball seems really funny.
Is a little gross, but Tundra Rhino plus the Hyena now plus the Fiery Bat. The Fiery Bat plus the Tundra Rhino plus the bow, or the Tundra Rhino plus the Fiery Bat lets him clear out. Fiery Bat now gets to die. Rat Pack now gets to die, giving him 4 beasts that are dying.
Yep.
So Scavenging Hyena is going to be a 10/6.
I mean, it's very iffy right now because basically Moosey's RNG needs to be perfect here. Let's see if it is. It is.
That's a pretty good start.
Yeah, that is definitely a good start. I mean, if anything, he now needs to use a fireball on that 10/6 Scavenging Hyena. He has to. And, that's still 6 less damage that's going to the face from Guise here.
I think he's just going to drop that Firelands Portal on the 10/6. He can ping it off, but that does let the Tundra Rhino live, so
Yep.
it depends how much he's worried about future beast shenanigans. He is at 11, so
Last, so
hero power can just kill him off pretty quickly, I think.
I mean, Fireball doesn't seem too bad. I mean, you still have 12 points of damage, and you can proc the it also means that you can proc the what you call it, the explosive trap without really worrying about, you know, losing too much of your board.
Oh, he made a little bit of a mistake. That was killing the other beast first. Unfortunately, puts the hyena out of single fireball range, meaning that he can't use another fireball to go face.
Yep.
Which matters a lot when your opponent is threatening lethal pretty quickly. Now, this is a card that is just criminally underplayed right now. Starving Buzzard, the nerfed version.
Yep.
Drawing an extra card. I think Moosey's a little bit focused on using hero power returns, so... Ooh, Flamewaker.
It's a pretty good pickup, to say the least.
Rubbing
Being able to play
together.
Flamewaker means that he doesn't have to attack, and he doesn't need to trigger that Fire Lance, but he has so many spells in his hand right now.
Unfortunately, the spells are a little bit awkward just because they are so expensive. I think we're going to be seeing the fire out, but
I mean, the other play is that you could just kill the Starving Buzzard, and then ping the Direwolf Alpha, and then go face with the Fireball. Because you do get a 50-50 shot of killing the Direwolf, and I don't think that you even lose too much by not killing it. Like, even if it's still on the board, like the worst thing that can happen is that he draws a card off of top decking
I think he really wants to use the Firelink. And Sharing Oathorn Tiger is a really nice card. Just because the Firelands portal is a little bit more mana awkward, he can never use Firelands Fireball. However, Fireballs work pretty well with 1, 2, and ping. So.
Right. I mean, the other problem is that Guise basically has to use only spells in order to win, because if he procs that explosive trap, he's going to get him closer and closer to losing. So, you know, that, you know, we talk about hunters not being great right now, but, you know, you still have to respect the amount, the 2 damage assured every turn. Like,
on the other hand, 18 damage plus another 6 is getting pretty close to lethal.
Yep.
I think Tundra Rhino plus Wolf plus Alley Cat gives him lethal.
I think this is actually lethal for
Guys he gets to attack with Flamewaker Stranglethorn. Good for him. I forgot that attacking is a thing you can do.
Yeah. We've been talking about, oh no, Explosive Trap could get him closer to lethal, but we just got so... I at least got so absorbed by it, I just forgot, like, oh yeah, you can just...
Attacking is powerful. But we do see round number 9 going to Guise with his Tempo Mage deck, winning out the last 5 games, so...
Yeah.
Gracious to him.